Did you know that over 48 million Americans get sick from foodborne illnesses every year? And what's truly alarming is that seniors like you face a much higher risk. The CDC reports that adults over 65 are hospitalized and die from food poisoning at rates significantly higher than younger adults, not because you're doing anything wrong, but simply because your immune system naturally changes with age. What if I told you that some of the health challenges you're facing, the unexpected digestive troubles, the fatigue that seems to linger, even some of that joint pain, might be connected to how you're storing your food? The truth is, your refrigerator, the very appliance you trust to keep your food safe, might actually be working against you in ways you never suspected. I remember visiting my mother last spring. At 82, she prided herself on her independence and her kitchen routines that hadn't changed in decades. As I helped put away groceries, I noticed something concerning. Several foods that should never be refrigerated were tucked away in the cold, while others that desperately needed refrigeration sat vulnerably on her counter. When I gently mentioned this, she smiled and said, "That's how I've always done it." But what worked in her 40s wasn't serving her well in her 80s, when even a minor bout of food poisoning could mean a hospital stay. Today, I want to share with you some simple yet powerful truths about food storage that could protect your health, preserve your independence, and quite possibly save your life. We'll explore 3 common foods you should never refrigerate, foods that lose their nutrition, texture, and even develop harmful compounds when chilled, and 3 foods you absolutely must keep cold to avoid dangerous health consequences. The number 1 item on our never refrigerate list might surprise you. It's something many of us eat daily, something that loses its healing properties and can even develop toxic compounds when stored incorrectly. If you're ready to make your kitchen work for your health instead of against it, let's begin this journey together. Before we dive deeper, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, I encourage you to click that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We share new health tips specifically for seniors every week. Simple changes that can help you live with more energy, clarity, and joy. If you find this video helpful as we go along, type yes in the comments so I know we're connecting. Let's start with something many of us love: fresh tomatoes. These bright, juicy fruits bring color and flavor to our meals. But when placed in the refrigerator, something troubling happens that affects both their taste and their health benefits. When tomatoes are chilled below 55 degrees, their cell membranes begin to break down. The result is a mealy, mushy texture that you've probably experienced, that disappointing mouthfeel that lacks the juicy brightness of a properly stored tomato. But the damage goes far beyond texture. Cold temperatures actually shut down the ripening process and prevent the development of those rich flavors we love. A tomato stored in the refrigerator might look red, but it will taste like a shadow of what it should be: bland, watery, and deeply unsatisfying. For seniors, this matters even more because tomatoes contain lycopene, one of the most powerful antioxidants nature provides us. Lycopene helps protect our hearts, strengthens our bones, and even supports eye health, 3 areas that need extra attention as we age. Studies show that refrigeration dramatically reduces the bioavailability of lycopene, meaning your body can't access and use this protective compound even though it's technically present. I remember Mr. Collins, a 78-year-old neighbor who struggled with macular degeneration. His doctor had recommended increasing his intake of lycopene-rich foods. For months, he diligently ate tomatoes every day, yet saw no improvement. When I visited his home, I discovered he was storing his tomatoes in the refrigerator, unknowingly depleting the very nutrient he was trying to consume. The solution is beautifully simple. Keep your tomatoes on the counter, stem side down, away from direct sunlight. They'll ripen naturally, develop their full flavor and nutrient profile, and serve your body the way nature intended. If they become fully ripe before you can use them, that's when you can move them to the refrigerator for a day or 2. But remember, the cold has already begun to change them. Now let's talk about something sweet and healing. This golden elixir has been valued for centuries, not just for its natural sweetness, but for its remarkable medicinal properties. Many seniors keep honey in their homes, whether to sweeten tea, spread on toast, or soothe a sore throat. It's a comforting, natural alternative to processed sugar. But when honey is stored in the refrigerator, something troubling happens. It crystallizes rapidly, becoming thick, cloudy, and difficult to use. This crystallization doesn't just make honey inconvenient, it changes its healing properties. Honey naturally contains enzymes, antioxidants, and antimicrobial compounds that support respiratory health, wound healing, and immune function. When exposed to cold temperatures, these delicate compounds begin to degrade. For seniors managing seasonal allergies, respiratory concerns, or looking for natural ways to strengthen immunity, properly stored honey can be genuinely therapeutic. But refrigerated honey offers less protection, less healing, and frankly, less joy. I think of Mrs. Rodriguez, who at 73 used local honey to manage her seasonal allergies. When winter came, she began refrigerating her honey to make it last longer. Within weeks, her allergy symptoms returned, despite continuing to take her honey daily. The refrigeration had diminished the very compounds that were helping her breathe easier. Store your honey in a cool, dry pantry instead. Use a clean spoon each time to prevent contamination, and keep the lid tightly sealed. If your honey does crystallize, simply place the jar in warm water for a few minutes. Never microwave it, as this destroys its beneficial enzymes completely. The third item we should discuss is one that brings comfort to so many of us. The aroma of fresh bread can instantly transform a house into a home, evoking memories of family gatherings and simpler times. For many seniors living alone, a good loaf of bread is a kitchen staple, versatile, comforting, and requiring minimal preparation. But storing bread in the refrigerator accelerates a process called retrogradation, where the starch molecules crystallize and force moisture out of the bread. The result is bread that becomes stale and dry much faster than if left at room temperature. You've likely experienced this, that disappointingly firm, dry texture that takes all the pleasure out of what should be a simple joy. But there's more at stake than just texture. For seniors with dental concerns or swallowing difficulties, properly stored soft bread is not just preferable, it's often necessary. Refrigerated bread becomes a challenge to chew and swallow, potentially leading to reduced bread consumption and missing out on important B vitamins and fiber that support digestive and cognitive health. I remember visiting a senior center where Ruth, age 85, mentioned she had stopped eating bread entirely because it hurt her teeth. When we discussed her storage habits, we discovered she'd been refrigerating her bread for years, making it unnecessarily difficult to enjoy. Instead of refrigerating, store bread in a bread box or cloth bag at room temperature where it will stay fresh for 2 to 4 days. If you can't eat a whole loaf in that time, slice and freeze what you won't use immediately. Frozen bread maintains its moisture and texture when thawed, unlike refrigerated bread, which can never regain its original quality. This simple change means you can enjoy bread's comfort and nutrition without waste or disappointment. Another small adjustment that honors both your health and your pleasure in eating. If you're finding these insights helpful, please type yes in the comments below. Your feedback helps me create more content tailored to your needs. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a perfect time to join our community of seniors committed to living well. Just click the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified when we share new health tips. Now let's shift our focus to foods that absolutely must be kept cold, starting with eggs, a protein-rich staple in many senior diets. In the United States, eggs require refrigeration from the moment you bring them home. This isn't just a suggestion. It's essential for your safety. Our eggs are washed before sale, which removes the natural protective coating called the bloom. Without this coating, eggs become vulnerable to bacteria that can easily penetrate the porous shell. When an egg sits at room temperature for more than 2 hours, bacteria like Salmonella begin to multiply rapidly. And here's what's particularly concerning for seniors. The symptoms of egg-related food poisoning often present differently in older adults. Instead of the typical stomach upset that younger people experience, you might feel unusual fatigue, dizziness, or confusion, symptoms that could easily be attributed to other conditions or simply to having a bad day. This makes diagnosis and treatment dangerously delayed. I remember a distressing situation with my Uncle Harold, who at 79 had always kept his eggs in a beautiful ceramic bowl on the counter, just as his mother had done. "They're easier to reach here," he'd say. When he developed what seemed like a mild flu, no one connected it to his egg storage habits. It wasn't until he was hospitalized for dehydration that doctors identified the real cause, Salmonella poisoning, from improperly stored eggs. Store your eggs in their original carton in the main body of your refrigerator, not in the door where temperatures fluctuate. The carton protects them from absorbing odors and keeps them from drying out. And remember, if you've left eggs unrefrigerated for more than 2 hours, the safe choice is to discard them, even if they look perfectly fine. The second item that absolutely requires refrigeration is one of the most nutritious foods we can eat, especially as we age: leafy greens. Spinach, kale, lettuce, and other leafy greens are nutritional powerhouses, rich in vitamins K, A, C, and folate. They support bone health, vision, immunity, and cognitive function, all vital concerns for seniors. But these delicate leaves begin to degrade almost immediately after harvest, if not properly chilled. When leafy greens sit at room temperature, they not only wilt visibly, which is disappointing enough, but they rapidly lose their vitamin content. Research shows that after just 24 hours at room temperature, leafy greens can lose up to 50 to 90% of certain vitamins. What looks like simply wilted spinach is actually nutritionally diminished spinach. More concerning is that improperly stored greens are frequent carriers of bacteria like E. coli and Listeria. The moist surfaces of leaves provide an ideal environment for bacterial growth, and for seniors with naturally lower stomach acid and decreased immune function, these pathogens pose a serious threat. Dorothy, a vibrant 77-year-old in my community garden group, once mentioned that she'd stopped buying spinach because it always made her feel unwell. When we discussed storage, I learned she was leaving her greens in the shopping bag on the counter for hours before putting them away. This simple oversight was robbing her of important nutrition and potentially exposing her to harmful bacteria. To properly store leafy greens, rinse them thoroughly, dry them completely using a salad spinner or clean kitchen towels, then refrigerate them wrapped loosely in paper towels inside a perforated plastic bag or container. This maintains the perfect balance of moisture and air circulation, keeping your greens crisp and nutritionally intact for up to a week. With this simple routine, you can safely enjoy these nutrient-dense foods that support your vision, your memory, and your overall vitality. The third category that requires careful refrigeration is one that affects nearly every senior: leftover cooked foods. These convenient, ready-to-eat meals are a cornerstone of independent living for many older adults, allowing you to cook once and eat twice or more. But leftover foods exist in what food safety experts call the danger zone. Temperatures between 40 degrees and 140 degrees where bacteria multiply exponentially. At room temperature, bacteria in cooked foods can double in number every 20 minutes. For seniors with naturally decreased stomach acid and immune function, this rapid bacterial growth can lead to serious illness. What many don't realize is that leftovers need to be refrigerated within 2 hours of cooking, and within 1 hour if your kitchen is warm, above 90 degrees. This isn't an arbitrary guideline. It's a critical safety threshold based on bacterial growth patterns. I think of David, a widower of 81 who prided himself on his independence. He would cook a large pot of soup on Monday to last the week, but he'd leave it cooling on the stove for hours before refrigerating it. "My mother always let soup cool on the stove overnight," he'd say. When he experienced recurring bouts of what he called stomach upset, he never connected it to his leftover handling habits. Proper leftover management requires a few simple steps. Divide large quantities into shallow containers to cool quickly, refrigerate promptly, consume within 3 to 4 days, and reheat thoroughly to 165 °F. Use the smell test, but don't rely on it exclusively. Harmful bacteria often cause no detectable changes in odor or appearance. For seniors living alone, I recommend placing a simple timer on your counter or refrigerator door as a reminder. Set it for 90 minutes after you finish cooking, giving yourself time to rest and eat before tackling storage. This small habit can prevent significant illness and help maintain your independence. If you're finding value in these practical tips, please hit the like button and type "yes" in the comments. And if you know another senior who could benefit from this information, please share this video with them. Sometimes the simplest knowledge can make the greatest difference in someone's health and quality of life. Now that we understand which foods should and shouldn't be refrigerated, let's talk about how to make these changes work in your daily life. Because knowledge without implementation doesn't help anyone. First, let's address your refrigerator itself. Many seniors are using refrigerators that are 15, 20, even 30 years old. These older models often have less consistent temperatures and may not maintain the ideal 37 °F needed for food safety. If possible, invest in a simple refrigerator thermometer. They cost just a few dollars and can alert you if your fridge is running too warm or too cold. Next, consider reorganizing your kitchen to support proper food storage. Create a dedicated area on your counter for foods that shouldn't be refrigerated. Perhaps a pretty bowl for tomatoes, a bread box for your bread, and a cool, dark cabinet for honey and peanut butter. Label this area if it helps you remember. For foods that must be refrigerated, create a system that works for your needs. If arthritis makes handling storage containers difficult, consider lever-top containers or those with easy grip features. If you have vision challenges, use brightly colored containers for different types of leftovers, or label them with large print. One strategy that has helped many seniors is the Eat Me First box, a clearly marked container or area in your refrigerator where you place foods that need to be consumed within 1 to 2 days. This simple visual reminder can reduce waste and improve safety. If you live alone, consider scaling down your cooking and shopping. Instead of buying a large bag of spinach that might spoil before you can eat it all, see if your store offers smaller portions. Or arrange a split shop with a neighbor where you divide perishable items that come in larger quantities than either of you needs individually. Remember, these changes don't have to happen all at once. Start with one area, perhaps just focusing on proper leftover storage this week, then addressing where you keep your tomatoes and bread next week. Small, consistent changes add up to significant health protection. And if you find yourself forgetting these new guidelines, don't be discouraged. Place a simple note on your refrigerator with 3 foods that don't belong inside and 3 that must be kept cold. Visual reminders can be powerful tools as we create new habits. As we come to the close of our time together today, I want to share something personal. My grandmother lived independently until she was 97 years old. When people asked her secret, she would smile and say, "I respect my body enough to pay attention to the small things." Food storage might seem like a small thing, a minor detail in the grand scheme of health, but these small choices compound daily, either supporting your health or slowly undermining it. Every time you store a tomato properly, you're choosing to preserve its heart-protective lycopene. Each time you refrigerate leftovers promptly, you're honoring your body's changing needs and vulnerabilities. These aren't just habits, they're acts of self-respect. They're ways of saying, my health matters, my independence matters, my life matters. I believe that aging well isn't about denying the changes in our bodies. It's about adapting to them with wisdom and grace. Understanding how to store your food properly is part of that adaptation, part of that wisdom. So I invite you to look at your kitchen with fresh eyes this week. Make one small change in how you store your food. Notice how it feels to make this choice for yourself, to take this step toward protecting your health. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. Our community is here to support you, to share knowledge, to remind each other that we're worth the extra care these years require. If this video has helped you, please subscribe to our channel for more senior-focused health tips. Share it with friends who might benefit. And leave a comment letting us know which food storage habit you plan to change first. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Until next time, remember that your health deserves your attention. Your kitchen can be your ally, and it's never too late to make changes that honor the life you've lived and the life you're still creating every day. Thank you for spending this time with me. May your food nourish you fully, and may you continue to thrive.